Okay, let's see. We should have sound. And we should have me. Hi. Welcome to the 52 Minutes live stream number 14. I hope you're well. I'm Alex. This is my cup of tea. It's Sunday. That's about it. Hope you're doing well. Hello, Lee from Lee Sweeney. And Halika, how are you doing? Marcus Stratus, who is apparently not here, but hello anyway. TK421, hello. And I Recluse. And Charles, how are you doing? I hope you're well. I'm starting a bit late today. Just because I haven't really figured out what is a good time to stream, honestly. The reason I do every other week is because I don't have my son every other week. And so, it's a good time to stream while he's not with me, because that would, the stream would be a bit of a ruckus if he would join in, honestly. And he's also a kid, so I don't want to shove his face onto YouTube all the time. Yeah, there's the whole world to take into consideration. Like, what are people doing in Europe at 7 o'clock in the evening on a Sunday? Are they rather watching television? What's people in the US and the rest of the Americas doing at 10 o'clock in the morning or whatever, 11, all that kind of stuff. We've got Chris from Nicaragua who can answer what people in the Americas are doing, which is painting while riding a horse. No, riding out Hurricane Julia. Oh yeah, there's hurricane stuff. I guess painting while riding a horse could be the same kind of feeling as painting while in the middle of a hurricane, I guess. I hope that goes well. Hello, Kylie B from Portland. It says, this is the first time getting serious hobby time in about 3 weeks. Feels good to be back. Yeah, welcome back. I think, after summer, getting into autumn, people, maybe get a bit more serious in back to work, all the other things, life. I think there might be a bit of a natural hobby sort of slump. And then, when winter comes, it usually takes off a bit more. That's my feeling anyway. But yeah, I'm glad you're getting some hobby time back in. Hello, MBP and Adrian and Clyde. Pumpkin spice season is serious. Pumpkin spice, is that like how they celebrate Halloween on June, or what? And Stretch, good evening. MBP from Middelfart. That's a really funny name for a place, honestly. Is there a high fart and a low fart? And yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a bit. I'm well. I hope you're all well. I was actually. I've got a friend who I haven't worked with him for quite some time, but he has he's like a club a DJ, I guess you could call it. He's older than I am, but he's great fun. And I used to work with him a bit, and then I haven't done it for a while. And then he asked me if I could come film one of his clubs yesterday, and I thought, well, okay, why not? And so that was I worked till 3 o'clock this morning, which is strange. And everyone was about half my age and had about half as much clothes on as I did, which was strange. But also interesting to see what happens when, you go from the pandemic mode. I know some people still very much are in the pandemic mode, but, in essence being isolated, and then all of a it's just been 6 months or whatever, and all of a sudden you're like cramped trying to not accidentally hit people in the head with your camera on a dance floor. It's strange things. But yeah, it made me feel older than younger, I guess. So I'm glad to be back in my bunker where things are quiet, and I can talk seriously into a camera and act my age. Alison, how are you? Good morning, afternoon, evening to you too. Alison is thinking about not whole options for my tree this afternoon. Alison has a tree on her wall. Alison is a patron. I'm not stalking her. It's not why I know things. It's because we share hobby information. It's a bit warm. Sorry. Because she's a patron, and she has this. So she's built like a storage for her miniatures on a wall, which is like it's like a shelf, but it looks like a tree. It's very nice. Adrian says, as long as it's not raining in Middleford, I'm sure it's okay. Okay. Yes, I agree, Adrian. I'm sorry, that was really funny. Flavio from Sao Paulo, Brazil, as well. Greetings. I'm really glad that there's so many from the Americas, which is cool. I don't even speak Spanish, but I try to get the names right. Flavio Donzetti Geronimo, for example. Kylie B. Cold weather is approaching, and I'm an airbrush-less hobbyist facing that assemble and prime panic while the weather will still allow a rattle can priming. That is a thing. I know. I'm seriously, I tell people to get an airbrush just for that, And I can see definitely how it wouldn't work out, like with space but like I had, should I get it? It'll just make lots of noise. I'm sure you might have seen it, but I had this that I borrowed, this really small compressor. So it doesn't have a tank, it's just the compressor. It's an it was like a kit. You buy an Iowata Neo and like this really small compressor in like a bundle kit. And I had that at home and like stashed in a cupboard. And I'd just, take it out, and I'd have an extension cord and like take it out on the balcony kind of a thing, and still sort of be outdoors, but you can still prime with an airbrush in crap weather, I guess, not as well as you can with rattle cans because the accelerant screws things up. Anyway, or when no one was home, I could just sort of do it indoors a little bit under the kitchen fan or whatever. But if one lives in a country where like half the year you can't prime your miniatures, I can definitely see the panic when autumn comes along and you're like, have I primed everything? I have been using. I'm not really sure how good they would be. Are they here? Sorry. That was a lot of noise. No, I haven't got one. I've got some over there, I think. Anyway, like water-based rattle cans from Montana. I used them in a video when I was building a miniature library. And so I bought them just because I wanted to be able to use rattle cans, but in here. And I still could set up a booth for fumes and stuff, and I still wore a mask. But the thing is, because it's sort of water-based, it doesn't have that rattle can smell, because I can find, even if you rattle can something, you take it indoors and the entire house smells like rattle can for like a day or two, which maybe isn't always greatly appreciated either. And so in theory, with that one, you could, if you got somewhere in your house or whatever, or like in the proximity where it's still sort of indoors, but maybe not super fancy indoors, like the cupboard that no one ever goes into. Maybe you could prime with them, and it wouldn't smell. There's still particles, and there's still some kind of fumes, obviously, because there needs to be a propellant. But at least it doesn't smell. I wasn't overly impressed with how the paint is. The black was all right. It just comes on very, very thick. So I can't really, I haven't tried it on miniatures. I'm going to use it on terrain, to prime terrain, but so I can't wholeheartedly recommend it because, well, I used it on the miniatures for the library, but those miniatures were this size, Anyway, it was just a bit of a tangent. Hello, Noah from Tahoe. Hengist says, I'm stealing Middle Fart as a location for my D&D campaign. Now I have to create North Fart and South Fart. They all exist in the Fartlands. The terrain is mostly boggy. Exactly. Yeah, Middle Fart really sounds like, the place you didn't really want to go to, with the pub that was, still had a sheep in it, kind of, yeah. And it is sort of constantly raining and everything is a bit muddy. Good evening, Crazy Horse. And congratulations on your lottery roulette win. We had when one joins the 52 Miniatures Patreon, you get access to the 52 Miniatures Discord. And there was a patron who had a £10 voucher for the Games Workshop web store, and that this anonymous patron wanted to give away to someone on the Discord. So we organized a little raffle. One had to share a nice hobby memory from this year, from this year so far, and then if you did that, I'd take your name and put you in the raffle. And mostly it was just really great to read all the people shared memories of what's a nice hobby memory from this year, and it really sort of triggers why it's good to have a hobby, because there was a lot of nice moments, and especially when it comes down to it, a lot oops, sorry, I kicked the microphone. A lot of it is about maybe sharing the hobby with someone, like painting with a kid or a sibling or a grandparent or whatever, or just going out gaming for the first time, meeting other people in the hobby, and it was pretty socially focused. A lot of the positive things, but it was great to read, and I'm just glad people joined in just so that we could share some of those good moments, because made me value the hobby even more, honestly, reading them. But anyway, Crazy Horse won the raffle eventually. I had one of those spinny things on my screen, and he can now buy something for $10 on the Games Workshop store. And if it doesn't work, Crazy Horse, let me know, and we'll. But yeah. Cal B says, and I don't have so much stuff primed already. I have so much stuff primed already, but what if I don't want to paint any of that stuff? Options are important. Yeah, or you could just buy an airbrush. Sorry. Please, guys, don't forget to press the like button as well, because I actually had some comments on the last live stream, which was it was strange. I was on the internet, on YouTube, while you were streaming, but I couldn't see that you were streaming. And this is the way. basically, if there isn't all that much interaction with, people joining and commenting and doing stuff like that, then YouTube just won't show that I'm live to other people, even if they're subscribers. It's just weird, but that's the way it is. So I'm not saying to, press like to boost my ego. It's more like press like so that I even exist. I might just go up in smoke if you don't. Yeah, Kylie B says, I've never heard of that kind of rattle can. Maybe I'll look into them. Yeah. I'll add them in the comments, like description box thingy later. But it's Montana. I need to write it down for myself so I won't forget. Montana cans. I think it was Montana. Was it golden? No, I believe it was Montana. Anyway, I'll write it later in the description box. Water-based. But yeah, they kind of, there's a lot of paint coming out at the same time. That could be the cap as well, but definitely worth experimenting with. I bought quite a lot of cans for that previous project, so I'll definitely be using them up on like MDF terrain and stuff like that in the future. I have primed some filament printed things with it, which turned out fine. It actually, if shaken well enough, it ends up with a nice matte surface, actually. But there's just a lot of it coming out at the same time. And then I changed cap, and that was a bit better. Hello, Young Spicy. MPP says Middelfart is actually the belly button of Denmark. This is I don't know if this is getting better. It's yeah. Daniel from Upplands Väsby. Hello. I grew up almost in Upplands Väsby, Daniel. Right next to it. Rotebro. Hello, Green Wizard and Clyde. Girl painting. Greetings from my favorite German viewer. I've been thinking, girl painting a few streams back asked me of like, was it like combine, if I could create like the ultimate game by combining the ultimate, like the best 3 games I've ever played or something like that. And it could be any game. It could be video games or what. I can't really remember it, but I remember I said TIE Fighter, I think, which was a computer game back when I was young, which is the best computer game ever. Why am I talking about this? I don't know. Yeah, was it like combined 3 computer games, or was it 3 games in general? Oh, look, money. Hello. Thank you, Fogrot, who says, for the algorithm and the ego, thanks for what you do. Well, I do very much appreciate it. And Talent Tactics Consulting as well. Thank you very much. It's very thoughtful of you, and I'm grateful. Thank you, both of you. Hello, Fabian. Brendan Eric says, liking the Fallout mug. Yeah, it goes in theme with my bunker. I seriously want to, like, I need a map somewhere so that I know where to go when I go, above floors and out into the dust. I need some kind of map of outside of the bunker. I also need somewhere that says, like level 52, probably, because that's the level I'm on down in the bunker. Something like that. I need more bunker stuff, really. And a red phone, probably. Old school red phone. Or just a button. Red panic button. I mean, I've got this one here, but it doesn't really, that wasn't super exciting, was it? TFTF. Hello, how are you? And I'm well, thank you. My legs are a bit sore from Spiel. Yes, I can imagine a lot of steps and buys. I can very much imagine. So Spiel is one of them doodads. What do you call it? Where people meet, lots of them, like 100,000 of them. Convention. And is it more like a trade show? I don't know. I don't know much about conventions, but this one is in Essen, I think, in Germany. I've been seeing some like ads for it and stuff. And I saw on Instagram that Dave was there as well from Mini Wargaming with his like the veil touched thing and the miniatures and that. It was fun to see. But from what I've heard, it's huge and so much things. So I can imagine if you're a bit sore in the legs. What did you buy? Anything fun? TFTF says I missed buying the new Vallejo paints. Yeah, that's right. They've done some kind of contrasty paints, haven't they? It's going to be interesting to see how they work out, I guess. I don't know. I'm not very interested, I think. I mean, I could. I don't mean that. But like, there already is contrast paints, and there already is like Army Painter contrast paints, and there's already Green Stuff World contrast paints, and one can already make one's own sort of contrast paints. And so I don't think that the Vallejos maybe have, or maybe they'll be like, because it's it's a company that's good at making paint, so maybe they will be really really good, and finally maybe they will be the ones that I buy. I don't know, but I've seen that they're in existence, and that I don't appreciate the new style of the logo type, because I thought the old school one was very it just associate me as a kid with models with the old Vallejo, and now they have a new one. But I guess that's just me being an old middle fart, old fart, middle fart, high fart, low fart. I'm not being rude. It's all names of places in a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and also apparently Denmark. But yeah, if you just joined in. Girl Painting says 3 games in general. Yeah, because I thought of another computer game. This just shows how nostalgic I am, which would be like the Discworld. It was a Discworld game. I remember buying it. It was like when games came on floppy disks, and it was like 26,000 floppy disks in this box, and it was ridiculously difficult. I remember it was like impossible to solve any riddles without buying like the walkthrough guide, because I don't think it was meant. I don't think it was meant to be played through. Maybe. But the graphics, it was just gorgeous to finally get to see like the Discworld out of not just textbook. But maybe it wasn't a great game. I don't know. I just have fond memories of it. It was like kind of looked like Leisure Suit Larry, only it wasn't Larry. It was Rincewind. Okay. Fabian says, now I have an aerograph pistolet. I don't know what that is. Please tell me, because it sounds interesting. That guy in the sky, how are you? Good evening to you too. Board game, video game, Ghost and Goblins rules by way and card game. Yeah, that's another nostalgic game. There's a card game called Doom Trooper, which was the Warzone world. They had a card game. Played that a lot as a kid. Young Spicy says there's a real cool fan-made remake of the TIE Fighter if you're interested. Same game but with new graphics and all that good stuff. Really? I'm interested. But I remember thinking like the graphics were awesome because X-Wing graphics were not awesome. And then came TIE Fighter and it was like, wow, this is so slick. Yeah. That was a good game. Clyde, thank you for the donation. For the Bunker Map Fund. I appreciate it. Thank you. TFT says Spiel is a trade show. Yeah, I thought so. So there's not so much gaming going on. It's more like people trading. Okay, I guess I should read this. Stretch says, I was painting some 40K squigs this week, and I was very excited to find that a couple of them had molded bum holes, much more sensible than nipples on orcs. Yes. Were they possibly from Cromlech? I think I remember. Did my big squig have an emergency exit hole in middle middle fart? This stream has taken a bit of a brown turn. The last one was actually visually brown. This one is vocally brown. But yes, I think a good squig should have a bum hole. You know, and it makes a lot more sense than the orc nipple that we've already concluded that the orc nipple is shrouded in mystery because why does it have a nipple? If only if it's a mammal. And then there must be an orc mother, and I like that. Talking about orcs, I was actually I made some notes for today because I was thinking earlier, what are these streams about really? Which is obviously because I like to hang out with you. But that feels a bit sort of egotistical. Egotistical. No, that's something else. And so, I thought I should maybe just not prepare all that much, but I could, share what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks, because that's the last time we saw each other in a stream format is 2 weeks ago. And so like what's happened in 2 weeks and what am I up to and, with the hobby and what's happening with the hobby. There's like, oh, there's a new 40K Astra Militarum box. We can talk about that. Maybe. I don't know. It just makes me want to play Dust, I think, seeing that. I saw my Alpha Spell has tons of Dust models. I want to buy them. Anyway, I was going to share things. And I'm going to be guest judging a competition, which has it's by Marshall's Miniatures. There's a link, I think, already in the description of this video. It's like an October challenge. So, I guess I haven't actually read what the challenge is because I haven't had the time just yet. I only just said yes. And so one paints orcs probably. We'll have to check the link to see what it's all about. And then there's going to be judges and guest judges, and I'm one of the guest judges. With a couple of other great people. So if you're interested, if you're already painting orcs and you want to compete in the painting competition, which is, it's just online. You don't have to go anywhere and hand your model in. Then check out the link to Marshall's Miniatures Discord, where all the rules and everything are. It's at. TFT says, I bought a lot of board games and a handful of miniatures from Brother Vinny. Who's Brother Vinny? Does he make nice miniatures? TFT says, I think this is about the Vallejo. They remade the whole game color series. Time to buy the old one. Well, have they remade the paint, or just are they just sticking new labels on the colors? Labels on the bottles of paint. That's what I was supposed to be doing today. I'm supposed to be pouring. Yeah, I should. Sorry, I can stir some paint while I talk, I guess. If you don't mind. No, you okay? Okay. Fabian says, or are you saying this to me, Fabian? I'm not sure. Something about Warhammer 40k is too popular and maybe kill the Hobbit. Yeah, that's. I mean, the world of the is this a good? You know, I think most of us already know that YouTube is what YouTube is, and I still have issues with that for some strange reason. I should just accept that YouTube is what YouTube is. But I made a video that was called the title was "Who Killed the Hobbit?" And it's a like Horus Heresy Space Marine that has just shot a Hobbit in the Shire, which is he's just dimensionally displaced. These things happen obviously in the world of sci-fi and fantasy. If there can be weird demons from the void that leak pus and then why can a space marine not just accidentally end up in another dimension that happens to be the same one that a hobbit is in anyway? And it's part of my series, which is called Making Money Painting Space Marines, which is me just exploring kind of the fact that if you paint a space marine on YouTube, you'll get more views. And I can also put ads, because I don't really put all that many ads in the other videos, but these I can just put an ad in, because that's how you make money painting space marines and so on. It's like my YouTube-esque videos. And with that also comes that you need to put Warhammer in the title, because otherwise people won't click your video. And I forgot about that. So first it was like, Who Killed the Hobbit was the name. And I realized, wait, I forgot to put Warhammer in the title. So the day after I changed it to Warhammer Killed the Hobbit, ? Which was not intentionally. Then it turned into sort of like, what has Games Workshop done something to the game with the Hobbit? And, it potentially became something more than what I actually intended it to be. But that worked well. Because I've never had a video ever do as well as that video. It's doing more than twice as well. It's usually my videos maybe have 15,000, 20,000 likes in this time span, and that one now has 50 something. Which I think that whole thing is a little bit kind of silly, because I have tons of great videos. That one's not better or worse than any of the other ones, but just because the title was the way it was, then people click it. But there we are. That guy in the sky says, I myself am looking forward to the new magic paints. You purchase the bottle of paint and it just paints the model without any physical contact. Or you could try one of them 3D virtual reality miniature painting. It's kind of. Oh dear, there's bots, but we don't have an admin, do we? Oh dear. Can I? Can I report? And can I remove? Is remove good? Oh, I can remove. Evening, Bill. I'm busy removing. Or maybe do you want to go? There's a best adult dating site Are you sure you joined the right bill making stuff, everyone? I only saw you because you came right after the bots. Hope you're well, Bill. For those of you in the chat that have not visited the YouTube site of Bill making stuff, please do. He's got a lovely cat, and he also crafts really nice things. And he's actually also a nice fella. He just hides that very well. And for some reason, I always sort of, I'm a bit not always nice. Well, I am nice, really. Bill's nice. Go check it. Yeah. Okay. And I saw someone gave me money. That guy in the sky. I'm still waiting for that bottle of something. But any hits on future Halloween diorama from Halloween diorama? Good question. Also, within a prawn cocktail. That was a very complicated message. That guy in the sky. Should I be doing a diorama within a prawn cocktail? I haven't seen that yet, actually. That would be really like a tacky style diorama, like you have a martini glass and you can have like a space marine bathing in it or something like that with ice cubes and a prawn, I guess. And you do it in resin or whatever. Some splash gel. Remember where you heard it first. Thank you anyway for the money, that guy in the sky. I really appreciate it. Daniel Love, how are you? The good old days of gaming with floppy disks, yeah. And now for something else. Do you know where one can buy 3D resin printers in Sweden? I don't. I think the standard thing is to like order them online. I don't know, actually. David Brun says, a bit off topic, just wanted to say that your videos are very inspiring. Thanks to you, I've started to plan my first attempt at a vampire diorama. Cool. I'm really glad to hear it, David. I think dioramas can be an awful amount of fun. I suggest starting small, maybe. I know it's easy to overthink and overdo a diorama, and all of a sudden you realize you have like a house and 6 miniatures and a cave and a lot of things to paint. So it's just a little recommendation to not do something way too big the first time, or even the second time, or even not the third time, because you can things. You know how ideas are. You're like, I need this and this and that. Wouldn't that be cool? And you build this awesome thing, and then it just takes so long to paint everything. Girl Painting says, I loved space flight simulators back in the day. X-Wing, TIE Fighter, Wing Commander. Yeah, I agree. Morganite says, hello, I finally started painting some board game miniatures for the first time, and your videos were a huge inspiration. I'm very glad you told me that. And I'm also glad to hear that you come from this sort of board game side, because I think that's one of the big things is to hopefully, that videos and people who view the videos are not only people who are into Warhammer, that it's actually people from board games and other games and Dungeons and Dragons and whatnot, because it feels a shame that to just get labeled as just a Warhammer painter. TFT says, I have 2 contrast paints, all instant. Yeah, like the instant paints I've got from Scale Color. Same people who make Scale 75. They're a bit strange, them paints, honestly. All watercolor contrast paints and all green stuff world ink paints, and none of my miniatures painted itself yet. What did I do wrong? It's because you didn't get the Vallejo ones or the Games Workshop ones. That's why. White. Titanium white. Jamie Mayers, how are you doing? Afternoon. Hope you're well. I'm well. My partner's been quite ill with COVID, so I've been doing some home nursing cooking duty alongside batch painting 15mm historicals for a competition in late October. Nice. But as in a gaming competition, not a painting competition, right? What kind of history are we talking? Made up history? No, but you know what I mean. Are they Napoleonics, or are they Inca Indians, or you know? Oh, my glass looks really fancy lit, doesn't it? It's like that's an expensive glass of water commercial. Hello, Skulldoggery. I'm glad you're here as well. And Clyde Dashing, I'm glad you liked the diorama. And we're back to Bill. Good. Painting any Warhammer today? Are you painting any? Weren't you going to get some Warhammer, Bill? Oh, you wanted yeah. You should get some Warhammer. It's fun, cheap. No, yeah. I saw. Have you checked out Dust, Bill? I think they don't make the game anymore. I'm not. Maybe someone else in the comments could help out. And everyone still, please press like again. There's 64 of you, and there's only 38 likes. We need to spread the word of me being even existing. But yeah, there's a game called Dust. Have you heard about it, Bill? I think you should maybe we should do Dust. I don't know. I think they're not making it anymore, but my game store has tons of the miniatures, and they're really cool. You would know about Dust. I figured it would suit sort of your, the bashing, robots and tanks together kind of a style. It's not Warhammer, but I just started thinking about it because Warhammer released a new like a 40K box, I think, with like the only future soldiers that actually look like they could they're from like a regular army, and not just space suited soldiers. They look like the rebels from Star Wars, pretty much, but with uglier helmets. I'm sorry. It's actually the only. I saw that box and I was like, oh, maybe I should start playing 40K. And then I thought, well, if I'm attracted by that, then maybe instead I should play, a war game that is actually, just looks like that, like Bolt Action or something, or Dust. Fabian wonders what I think of the new Hero Quest. I don't know. Is there a new Hero Quest? Did they release one now during the weekend with all the other? No, it was I don't know. I played. I think it would have been Hero Quest as a kid. Was it? It was Warhammer anyway, and you could be a dwarf with an axe, or a wizard or something like that. And I can't remember. I think I got the book down there somewhere still. It would have been Hero Quest. Frogotot says, I'm painting Orcs. I always am. I'll check out the competition. Good. It'll be fun. I've judged one competition before. This will be my second. I find it difficult. It's a little scary, honestly, but also because I'm not, compared to a lot of, there's people out there that are a lot more prolific painters than I am. So I don't know the techniques, and I can't really see if is that well, done. I don't really see that because I don't know how to do it myself. I think when it comes to technique, probably a very good judge is someone who can actually paint that way themselves. I'm a lot more taken away by ideas and creativity and color schemes and compositions and like the whole picture more than can I see brush lines, or is it smooth, or is and so that's why I'm a little bit scared sometimes with competition painting, because I just feel like maybe I give more credit towards ideas than towards technical skill. But then hopefully there's another judge that I can chat to or whatever, and we can help out in that department. That guy in the sky says, apologies, Alex. I'm currently awaiting the specific Irish gin to be restocked. Lovely. I'm just so looking forward to, one, will it even cross the border to how large will the bill from the taxation office be, or will they just drink it? I'm excited. Good evening, Torgamidus. Bill says, I did get the Middle Earth Pelennor Fields. Oh, you found it, did you? That's fun. Are you just gonna play it, Bill, or are you gonna make videos out of it? Because that would be kind of fun to see you make videos about Lord of the Rings miniatures. Just saying. Sounds like fun. I know nothing about the Middle Earth game, but I know that a lot of people who like it really like it, and that they like the rules and that. TFTF says, have you tried War Machine, Hordes, or Warcaster? No, to all of those questions. I don't have the time to try that many games. I'm still painting my Stargrave miniatures. Gosh darn it. Actually, we came up with as a patron, Phil, came up with a brilliant idea. Because essentially I have some kind of, how you can have, there's like the classical, I don't know why only writers are allowed to have writer's block. And it's like, it's this thing, oh, I have writer's block. I can't finish my book. Everyone can have any kind of block, really. And especially if you paint miniatures, you can easily get painter's block. And I have, tricks for that, that usually work. Like I try to come up with a story and all these other things that make me excited about the miniature. And then it's sort of, I get a pretty clear image of what the scheme will be in my head, and I just start painting and things work out. But with my entire Stargrave crew, that just hasn't, I think I've had too high expectations on myself, and the fact that I made a video about buying all these miniatures and I'm going to play Stargrave, and I've had them for over a year and I just haven't painted them, and they're just staring at me. And it's only 10 miniatures, It's not like a huge army, but they're just not getting done. And then together with so I wrote this on the Discord that we have, like how am I going to solve this conundrum? And there were some different ideas, and one of the ideas was, you could just let someone else come up with the story, kind of a thing. So I've started a thread. So please, patrons on Discord, there is a Alex's Stargrave channel on the Discord, and so I'll post just one image of one miniature, and people get to tell the story. So not like painted red, nothing about colors, nothing like that. Just tell the story, and then I'll take that story. If there's more than one story, because you can start writing a story and someone else just keeps working on the same story or whatever, or there might be conflicting stories. And then we'll just have to vote or whatever of which one to go for, or I just pick the one I like the best. Not as if someone else's is a bad story and someone else has a good story. It's just that some stories might, turn me on a bit more than others. That's just the way of life. It's like with human beings. So I just try and paint that story, whatever it may be. And the only backstory, like the only sort of, which isn't really there's there must be some kind of reason these people are in a crew together, and that's because they all escaped from a penal planet. Can you say that? Sounded almost rude. They've been to prison on like one of them prison planets or moons or asteroids or whatever, and they've all escaped somehow. So they might not even actually like each other. They just needed each other to escape. And they might not all be criminals either. Some, it might be prisoners of war. It might be people who are condemned for things they didn't do, or they might actually be really seriously bad people. And so now they're all stuck on a ship together, escaping this prison. And that's sort of the backstory. And then obviously there might be a certain style to some of the miniatures. Like one is holding a rocket launcher. So I'll probably play it as someone holding a rocket launcher, and someone might look very much like a hacker and stuff like that. But so then I just try and paint that, do my best to visualize that story, whatever the story is, and paint it. And I'm looking forward to painting the first miniature. And if you want to join in on this fun, all you have to do is join the 52 Miniatures Patreon to get access to the Discord. And there's also tons of other lovely people there that, yeah. Brendan Eric says, currently painting my way through the Cruel Boys part of Dominion. Yeah, I want to get starting with, I want to do them as well. I just have to finish my Stormcast army first. I've actually got a chariot primed and over there, the Stormcast chariot. Slowly getting there. I had a meeting this week before all the, I talk a lot and I get sidetracked a lot. But I was talking about, telling you about what I've been up to. And one of those things is I had a meeting with a guy called Helio about, I should stir them properly, about participating in a book, which is going to be a book about painting miniatures with lots of different painters and I guess content creators that are painters and so forth. And there was a bit of still kind of thinking of what miniatures to paint. because he wants the book to not only be Space Marines, which is what it would be if people could just pick what they wanted. And so I'm thinking about doing maybe the small ones in the Dominion box, the hobgoblins, whatever they're called. I really liked them because they were kind of a little bit ugly and simple. I don't know. The small ones, anyway. I can't remember. Hogroths, yeah. I like them. Emma says, that's what makes you a perfect judge. You can see a different side of things. Well, I hope so. I hope... there still needs to be a balance, I guess, because miniature painting is so much about technique still, and there's tons of people that sit and paint for a very, very long time trying to perfect or do their best they can with the technique, and then I come along and go like, yeah, but I don't like the idea, That's a little bit what I'm scared of, but I appreciate it, Emma. Thank you. Mr. Pendrag says, you being more of a creative than a technical is the reason I watch your stuff. Well, thank you. I enjoy being a creative more than a technical. W. Soren says, what are your thoughts on painting a Space Marine with a Zorn palette? What chapter would you paint if you did? Well, this sounds like Marco is a fan of the Zorn palette, isn't he? I don't even know what's in the Zorn palette, honestly. I know there's not very many paints, and I sort of kind of know what the paints look like, but I don't know the specific paints. But I do admire his paintings. Being Swedish, I can actually go to like the National Gallery here and look at them. He's very fond of naked ladies, but he was also very good. Like his portraits are just, amazing. But so I don't really know, because I don't actually know what's in the Zorn palette. I'm still trying to decide what's going to be in the Alex palette before I get onto someone else's palette. But I should try, I guess. It's always great with trying things like that, because it's just such a learning experience. I was actually a very good tip. I think I've already linked it in the description of this live chat. It was a tip from a patron, Phil, as well, on the Discord channel. From there's a paint range called Chimera that makes single pigment paints that look, excuse me, like this. This is their violet, which is, it's very sort of fine single pigment paints. And I've been using these So Flat paints lately, which also mostly are single pigment paints. And I'm still, very much learning working with single pigment paints, because one of the things with single pigment paints is you have to mix paints to get maybe the exact shade you're after, instead of just getting the bottle like, oh, there's a nice sort of brown, then maybe this wasn't quite the brown I was looking for. I have to mix other things into it to make the brown that I want, or whatever. Anyway, in the description box is a pretty cool video from Chimera, sort of, they're using their paints, but it's not limited to, you don't have to use their paints. It's a color theory, a pretty simple but very effective color theory video on how to mix paints. And this doesn't just go for single pigment paints or Chimera paints. It's just color theory, really. And I just thought it was a good video. It was very simple. It was a great explanation. It was not sort of advanced. It was not fast. It was just taking his time, um, explaining how to mix paints in a very simple way. And I thought it was a great video. So I can definitely recommend checking it out, especially if you are trying to, mix your own paints on the palette instead of having lots of different paints. I just do all of it. I just have all the paints. So depending on my mood, I can mix or not mix. But I almost always mix, even if it's pre-mixed colors or not. There's always mixing going on. It was just very helpful to see, get some tips on that. And so back to the Zohn palette, another reason to try stuff like that is you learn how to mix paints. But anyway, Zorn is a Swedish painter. He developed a specific, palette where he only used like 5 or 6 paints or whatever it is, and that's all he used. Specific pigments, and that's all he used to paint everything. And he's, I guess, mostly famous for his portraits. So there's a lot of skin, and his paintings are very alive and vibrant and characteristics, light and shadows, and it's great art. He's been dead for a very long time. He painted paintings 100 years ago or something like that. Well worth checking out Zorn and his palette. He also had quite the palette for alcoholic beverage, and I think died from syphilis or something like that. But that was just what people did back then. Don't quote me on that, please. Jamie Mayer says competition is games, not painting. So that was the 15mm miniatures Jamie was talking about earlier. The army is some sort of successor to Alexander the Great. Greekish spear bronze armor features. Yeah, cool. I like it. Sad Panda, hello, how are you doing? You're the god of mood and tone. It, of course, helps that you are well above average painter too. Thank you, Sad Panda. I appreciate that. God is very. That's a high tier. Does that mean I get special powers too? Like, can I shoot thunderbolts and lightning, or at least levitate or something, please? Bill Making Stuff says maybe an excuse for me to make some old fantasy terrain. Yeah, for the Lord of the Rings. Yeah. Do you want to be making fantasy terrain like everyone else? Maybe if you make it, Yeah, I guess if you do it like you're doing now, you're building, out of trash and stuff, and with your very good ideas that you usually have, it would probably be good if you made fantasy terrain, actually. I like it, Bill. Massey says, I just learnt about the transformative power of matte varnish. It really helps blending hues together. You meaning as in like varnishing the miniature with the one matte varnish when you're done, and everything all of a sudden looks like you actually, meant what you were doing because it all looks unified. Is that the one? Because in that case, yes, I agree. Most paints have different hues and shines, and you know, you might use some Vallejo and some Games Workshop and this and that, and they all are a little bit different um, in their shine. And so when one varnishes a miniature and just the one same, what do you call it? Shine, you know, it really unifies everything. I don't know if that's what you meant, but that's something that I like about varnish. Did I get Ultramarine Blue? I forgot about that. Huh. But yeah, there's also a thing I haven't actually thought about that. Look, I haven't even opened this one. This is going to need some proper stirring. Look at that blue. No, you can't because I'm super graded it, aren't I? But it's a lovely blue. Because I was painting with the paint recently. That was it was just I only had those specific paints at home, and so I just used them because they were the ones that I had at home, and they were pretty not glossy, but kind of. You know, sometimes how you use a paint and it can have quite the shine to it. Sometimes washes can be a bit more glossy as well, but I'm used to painting with matte paints like Scale 75 and stuff like that, mainly because I like the how it looks. I hadn't really reflected over the fact that it actually changes how I paint, because these paints were so glossy that whatever paint I put, I mean, for one thing, like when I put other paints on top, that acted different than what it usually does with a matte paint. So like if I paint something with a matte paint and then I go in and maybe if I'm going to glaze or highlight or add another layer, you know, that chalky matte paint, you know, whatever I put on top of that, things like really just stick where I want them to stick. Whereas on this other paint that was kind of glossy, things were like moving around a bit more. And I realized it was easier to like glaze and it was easier to like create kind of smoother. Like if I had really thin paint and I was doing layer after layer, it just sort of smoothed out more and it just looked more smooth. But it was really difficult for me to be like super precise. Like I want this line of paint to be exactly here, and it would just sort of blurred out a little bit. Whereas with the matte paint, it was like, and I never really reflected over the fact that the shine of the paint might actually change how it is to paint on top of it. And so, yeah, why am I talking about that? I don't know. But it was fascinating, and I realized that's another reason why I like to paint with matte paints is not only because I like the look of something matte. It actually is a painting experience that I enjoy more, and I'm probably more used to, because I was quite frustrated about this sort of not glossy but sort of satin. It felt like the paint wasn't sticking to it. Like when I was adding more layers, it was just I was just rubbing it around, and it was really annoying. It was not. It didn't, you know, work with what I was doing. Glass Arrow says painters get blank canvas syndrome. Yeah. Sad Panda asks, have you tried Pro Acryl? Thoughts? My thoughts on Pro Acryls are positive. I don't have so many. I get you one, which is a favorite. This lovely burnt orange is my favorite rust color at the moment. But no, I have a few Pro Acryl paints. I think they're very good paints. And I used like a lot of the sort of white-ish paints. Like if you're thinking in that spectrum, I have one. I think it's called Olive Flesh or something like that. It's like a very bright sort of khaki almost, and anything that would be up there with those almost sort of white paints, they cover really, really well, and so they can be really handy when painting something of that color. They're I don't know. I like they're sort of very fluidy, and they cover stuff uh, great. And for me, it feels like this is just personal. Feels like a paint that is really good for adding a layer, like a solid layer or something. You know how you traditionally would like layer paint. I find them a little bit difficult to wet blend with, which is something I do a lot. I think because they're so sort of liquidy. Like the scale 75 paints are a little thicker, a little more gooey. It's like I have a bit more of a paste to work with when I wet blend. And so I like scale 75 paints a lot because of that. Whereas this is sort of more flowy and it was a bit more difficult to wet blend. But on the other hand, to get like one smooth layer, um, they're a lot better than scale 75 paints. So it's all, different reasons for why someone likes a specific paint. It's not that one is better than the other. It just suits different purposes. But I can definitely recommend them. Emma Marks says, Bill, that would be so cool. Rusty fantasy terrain, 10 out of 10. Yeah. And I'm trying to get Bill to paint things that aren't rusty. I'm still living in hope when Bill changes out the red rust for the green of moss. Be a nice complement color, that. Shurbaka. Evening, Alex. Recently found your old video on varnishing. Have you found anything that works in Sweden during the winter that isn't spray canned? Have tried AK and Vallejo. I'm solely on Airbrush at the moment. Are you more referring to something that you can brush on? And in that, yeah, I only airbrush my varnishes now, and so that works, for winter in Sweden. Is this noise? Is this annoying? I hope not, because I'm going to keep on doing it. But I usually the way I varnish, because I always varnish miniatures so that I can play with them on the table. So a lot of the varnish is about protection, and then it's also about like getting the right looks. So what I do nowadays is I airbrush on a layer of polyurethane varnish from Vallejo, because I believe that polyurethane varnishes are sturdier. They take a lot longer to dry and cure, but they protect the miniature better. I usually just use normally I just use a layer of that matte one, and then on top of that I then use AK Interactive Ultra Matte Varnish just to get that very matte finish. But it's all done through the airbrush, Shobaka, and so I'm not really sure if that helps if you haven't got an airbrush. Torkamedus is from Estonia. I just joined your $5 patron. Well, welcome. I'll be looking forward to seeing you on the Discord there. Adrian says, reminds me, I had an idea for that miniature. I need to get it into text and post it on the Discord. Yes, please do, Adrian. I mean, I don't want I don't want it to be a competition. We've got one from Phil there, a long one, because it's Phil. Hi, Phil. I love it. And I think Miguel has written a story as well. But I was kind of, when I saw them, I was like, I like them all, and I thought maybe I could rearrange them a little bit into a whole new story or something like that. I don't know, but it was just fun to read them. So I'm just up for, if my patrons can make my life even better by writing fun stories, then thanks. Marseille says, for characters with multiple conflicting stories, you could make that a hook, a mysterious character with many different legends swirling about them. Yeah, that's what I mean. We've just only started with the first one, and I'm just, I haven't shown a proper picture of the entire squad, so there's just one proper picture of, and it's in black and white actually, because I've had put some paint on it that I didn't like, so it's very neutral, and so you pretty much just see the sculpt, and I'm guessing, and then I'll paint that, and then we'll do the next one, and then I'll paint that, and so this whole thing will probably take like a year or whatever, but I'm thinking after maybe 3 or 4 have been done, then there could be internal, okay, so there's been 3 heroes now. We need 3 bad guys or whatever. And then obviously we need names. They all need to have a name. Green Wizard says, same for me in Stargrave. Bought a bunch of minis to Kit Bash after I watched your video. Had an idea for elite cat people soldiers. Yeah. Still waiting to be built. Yeah. See, I really like the miniatures. They're great. I hand picked a squad of like, this is a cool miniature. I just went for like, this is the coolest. And it's almost like, well, 10 of the 2 coolest miniatures, it was just too cool for school. And I just got overwhelmed by the cool. And now it's like, I should have just bought one at a time and painted it or something like that. I don't know. Something strange happened anyway. But now I'm kind of excited. So now I just need to eventually start with that first one and then just slowly work through all of them. Kylie B says, because I'm sure you don't have enough going on in your life, has any more thought gone into the 52 miniatures event? I'm due for some international travel. Well, I have, yes, but yes and no. I now have an idea of what Kylie B is. I've been talking for about, same as with the Stargrave miniatures, pretty much. Not really. Almost for a year's time, I've been talking about having a workshop. But I want it to be like a serious, good workshop where I've actually prepared. And, if people, if people come and, then I want them to get their money's worth, and not just show up and I make something up as we go. Well, half of it will be like that, but still sort of some kind of framework so we can say, and so it turned into a bit more of a thing than just, show up and hang out with me. But I now actually have a conceptual idea of how this thing is going to happen, which is, the plan is essentially, because I want to make an inspirational workshop, which is like, apart from my Stargrave crew, how I usually go about painting my miniatures and coming up, like not so much the technical side of things, but like how do I get the ideas for the color schemes and all of that. And usually that has a kind of specific, it's always about the story, whatever the story may be. And so I think the workshop is going to be kind of faking that process. Like, we're going to paint the miniature. So first we're going to have to, that's what I've decided now, is that it's about painting a miniature. And so together we'll probably make up a story and then try and translate that story into a scheme and then paint that miniature. And throughout it, I will probably have other types of input, like, because it's about being inspirational. So that also goes into technique, like finding painting technique or style or whatever that you enjoy will make your painting journey a lot more inspiring than, just doing what other people tell you to do because they're on the internet and you believe that's how things should be done. Or and at the same time also going through other ideas that I've had in the past, other miniatures, like maybe showing miniatures and like this was my idea and this was my process. So it'll be a bit of a mix, but the plan now is at least that I've decided that one's going to be painting a specific miniature, but we sort of make up the story of that miniature together and then try and shape that into a color scheme. And then we try and paint that color scheme. But that's, yeah. So maybe in about 6 months or something, Kylie B. I don't know. Emma says, my 5 parsecs from home crew is sitting on my computer desk, judging me more and more every day I don't paint them. I know, that's the thing, isn't it? I don't know what happened there, really. Stretch says, grots. Are you referring to the miniatures I was talking about before that I wanted to paint for the book? No, they're not grots. They're in the Dominion box. And they're not orcs, and they're not goblins. They're like hobgoblins, I think. Fabian, what's your favorite faction in Age of Sigmar? I love dwarves. Ferocious with big hearts. Well, I play Stormcast, so obviously I have to say that the Stormcast are my favorite faction. I also think that the Skinks are cool, and like I agree with you with dwarves if it was old Hammer. In like the old Warhammer that was around when I was a kid. Those orcs I very much like. I like orcs. No, dwarves. Did I say dwarves or did I say orcs? I was doing paint things at the same time, so probably my brain was. Maybe I just said blue, 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 blue. But dwarves, yeah, I like old school dwarves and old school orcs and old school humans. But I like new school Stormcast. The latest ones are really nice, I think. And I like the Skinks. Yeah. Hello, Ulrich. Hope you're well. Jamie Mayers says, Chiarosco would be a cool special mood atmosphere-based power. Or I just like the word. What is a Chiarosco? It sounds like it's good to eat. Or the name of a very small race of dog that also might be good to eat if you're bent that way. Michael Strange, hello. I hope you're well. Nice to hear that you're around. Unsupervised learning. How are you? Roman Lapat a couple of days ago put out a video about judging competitions. Yes, I saw that, which was timely. I've actually already watched it. I like that he's putting out videos all of a sudden, which is fun. And I watched it. Yeah, it was very good. I mean, he's obviously done a lot more judging than I have, and on a completely different level. But it was still very good to hear the things he had to say. Brendan Walsh, how are you doing? Ulrich says, starting Stargrave as my first mini game at the moment, and was thinking if a game like it with few models per player exists to introduce kids at work to the hobby. I'm liking you already, Ulrich. That you're going to work and you work with kids and you're going to teach them miniature games. High fives all around. Fewer models per player. I mean, I'm not the one who knows tons about different games. I mean, 10 miniatures per side is usually, you don't always get way too much lower than that. What you could check out, there's a game recently released called Space Station Zero, which is created by two other lovely content creators, Adam from Tabletop Minions and Vince Venturella. I think you can have. I think maybe there's a possibility to have fewer miniatures in that game than 10, because you go for sort of more elite style miniatures. But I'm not sure. But I think so. Also, I believe you can, like, it's not necessarily as adversarial, that game. Like you can play cooperatively, which might also be a good thing with kids. Like I'd have a hard time playing a game with my son, just because kids tend to not really like to lose very much, and just the mood of things go rapidly south to Southfart, which is a town in a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Moods can swing with the kids, and so finding a game maybe where you can play cooperatively against like an AI foe, it might be a good thing, and that you can do in Space Station Zero as well. And then I guess with kids, I guess that's up to you. Sometimes people find swords and bows less intrusive than big guns, but that's another thing. Torquemedis said, "Just put my best piece in the Discord gallery." Lovely. I'll have a look once the stream is over and done with. I'm glad you're sharing already. Sad Panda says, "Any tips for running varnish through an airbrush without negative impacts?" What do you mean by negative impact? As in something would go wrong? I mean, I've never had anything go wrong. The polyurethane varnishes can be a bit thick sometimes, so I just thin them just a little bit. It says on the bottle that they can shoot through an airbrush with a 0.04 needle, but that they're lying. At least the one that I've got. But the AK Interactive, like super ultra duper trooper matte, is that just sprays out a lot. So it's just different. But I've never had anything strange happen, really. So I don't really have any tips. I guess obviously not thin too much, because that would ruin a lot. But yeah. Dale says the new Stargrave expansion book is full of cooperative scenarios that you can play with 2 half-size teams. That's true, Dale. You're right. I haven't had time to fully read it. I have it at home. The latest Stargrave expansion. There's like a 2-floor story gunfight on the front, I think. That has a lot of co-op in it. So that's a good idea. Thanks, Dale. Dan Dudds, good evening. How are you? I hope you're well. Dan is Bill's brother. Dan, are you also doing Lord of the Rings now? Is that a thing? Calamac says, "Hey, and best wishes from Mexico." Well, hello. No, there's a few. Oh, that reminds me. I've done a terrible thing. Now that you said Mexico, I promised someone something and I haven't done it. That was bad. Oh dear. I got contacted by a gaming club in Mexico, and they just asked kindly if I could record a little just snippet saying hi, and I said I would do it, and then I didn't, and I said I'm sorry I'm late, but I'll do it, and then I didn't. That's a shame. Okay. I wonder if I can find their sometimes things become, a bit. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of emails. There's a lot of Instagram messages, and sometimes it just sort of bubbles over a bit. Here it is. The San Angel Wargames Club celebrates 1 year of life on September the 19th. So, sorry. We're a small and unique club. Not that many here in Mexico, but we have tried to make the hobby reach more people. The club is not a store, it does not charge, and it is not for profit. It is simply for the pleasure of living together and throwing dice. Therefore, if it would be okay with you, we would really like if you could send us a greeting and congratulations on video for our anniversary. Sorry. Congratulations on your anniversary. And I'm terribly sorry that I forgot. Again, I hope you see this. And I'm just really glad to hear about your club. Okay. That made me feel bad. But great to see you as well. Call me Mac. Oh, there's the bots again. Excuse me while I report the maybe should I just go with it? The best adult dating site. I'm sure it's really good. I shouldn't pin message. Wait, report, remove, report. Like if they just contact me instead, they could just pay me, and I could say, the best adult dating site for miniature painters is, and they wouldn't have to do all the emojis and the. I'm not being serious. This is irony. Remove, report, and remove. Okay, trying to find my way back in the chat. Mark from Montana. Hello, how are you? I hope you're well. I asked you something, I think, in the Discord chat yesterday, maybe. I think someone was asking about... But you answered, didn't you? You did. There was something about Oregon and something. Mark is a patron. paints. He also has a YouTube channel. You can probably click his icon, Mark from Montana. He paints lovely little but larger than the miniatures that I usually paint, and usually more historical, sort of like and airplanes and pilots and stuff like that. Lovely stuff. Noah Wilson says, does anyone live near salty ocean air? And do you find that if you don't paint your minis completely immediately, I guess to completion immediately, that subsequent layers don't stick well? Ooh, interesting. Like the salty ocean air sticks to the miniature and then the paint doesn't. I wouldn't know because I don't live near the salty ocean. Even if I mean, I do wish I had like gold teeth and I was, a bit more of a pirate. But I guess you could stick them in, like, if you put them in something like not vacuum, but a tight box in between sessions or something. Would that help? Jamie says, I'm feeling similar levels of judgment from inanimate objects from my Silver Bayonet squad, painted-ish, but not based. Yeah, I remember seeing more of your Silver Bayonet squad, Jamie, and then I haven't been seeing them for a while. I thought you just finished them, but then they're just there like everyone else's unfinished miniatures, staring at you, saying, "Why is there not mud on my base?" Hello, Gary Barber from sunny Portugal. I hope you're well too. Fugrot.art says, I love that we all put our primed unfinished miniatures somewhere where they can be seen so that they can judge us or guilt us into painting them. Yeah, I know. I think it's just because we look at them more, honestly. It's like we just spend time, you see them in your corner of your eye and you can just feel those eyes. But with the painted ones, you just forget about them until it's time to game. So it's one of those typical, the human mind we're always pretty darn evil towards ourselves. That wasn't much fun. Instead of like looking at all our painted minis all the time, going, yeah, we just look at the unpainted ones and go, meh. Mark from Montana says, what I learned yesterday is don't use Vallejo blue, as in blue, for anything larger than irises of the eyes. Why do I keep trying to use this color as a base coat for uniforms? Is it a little bit transparent, Mark? Some blues can be a little bit like that. That whatever pigment they mainly put into the paint is a little bit to the transparent side. It's one of the cool things one can see when one has sort of these type of paints from Golden. But is a Cerulean Blue Hue and there's an Ultramarine Blue, and the Ultramarine Blue is actually you can see on the paint that they painted out here is like semi-transparent, whereas this blue is not. And it's just the way of pigments sometimes. What you could do is just add a little bit of white probably into that blue. It would change it and make it brighter, but it would also probably make it cover better, or black, or whatever. Something else that makes it more not as transparent might help. Or just get another blue where they've already done that in the bottle. Hello, Mark. Welcome, Mark Vellekoop. Gary Barber says, don't know. Oh, wait, I had paint here. Wait, just give me a sec. I've been stirring and stirring and stirring, so I shouldn't just let it sit with an open lid, should I? Don't know if it's been mentioned yet, but what do you think of the new Madoloka game? I don't know what that is. Should I know what that is? Madoloka? Have I missed something sort of game-changing? Or is it just a small thing? Please let me know what it is, and I can pass my judgment. Jamie says, chiaroscuro in art is the use of strong contrast between light and dark, usually bold contrast affecting the whole competition, courtesy of Wikipedia. Okay, there you go. So it's not a hot dog or a dog. That's good to know. Hello, Kim. Hope you're well. Kim Glud says, space weirdos, as a tip for playing with kids game, I assume. Dorky Dad says, Uncle Adam Tabletop Minions always recommends Song of Blades and Heroes for intro to wargaming. Very true. And Crazy Horse says, Space Station Zero is co-op. Teams are 5 to 7. Exactly. I'm just going to pour me some black paint here. The plan here is well, step one is I get to have them in dropper bottles, which is a good thing. The other good thing is I can take. I'll probably take these home, and I'll have the dropper bottles here, and so I'll have great paint, both at home and here in the bunker, which is great. It's like, well, in theory, if one would get the small ones, because like this is the regular. This is a regular. What are these? 18, 17 mil, and I got these only because these were clear plastic, and so I can actually see the fabulous colors a lot better through the clear plastic. But they were a little bit larger. But if one would have small bottles like this, you could get pretty much 3 bottles of paint out of the one tub of paint. So you could buy a set of gold and flat paints and like split in 3, and then it wouldn't really be all a huge investment. You just need to know 3 other people that also want the same paints. That might be more tricky. I'm sharing with myself instead, which means I can have nice paint both here and at home. Crazy Horse says, sorry, meant 6 to 8 miniatures. Yeah, well, in mine, the first ones die pretty fast, so that means 5 to 7, after the first round. Kim also says, or check out Dice Head's newest Kickstarter, Zune Tales. Battle Royale is family-friendly war game with 5 miniatures per player. Kim, can you write that in the Discord as well, or maybe I should I write that somewhere? I want to find something to play with my son pretty soon, and I was thinking, actually, Space Station Zero, but I'm thinking it might just be, even if I reduce, remove and make it as simple as possible, it still might be a little bit too advanced. All right, Dice Head Soontails. Soontalis. Okay. Thanks, Kim. Svensson Schönhage says, any tips to get in the mojo for hobbying? Well, do you mean painting or playing games? I'm guessing probably painting. I've had one of them sort of. I've had that a little bit lately. Um, I think for different reasons. I think one is too many plans, too many projects. I'm like, uh, yeah, a slight feeling of overwhelmed because there's a lot of projects that I want to just get done, and then I get the feeling of the only thing I feel is like I just need to get it done, which is not that's not fun. It's not like, oh, I just want to paint this miniature. It's like I just need to get it done, and that doesn't help. Um, and I think another thing has been just um, yeah, maybe that's been the major thing. And then I've had some like the Stargrave miniatures where I've probably just put my own mental level a bit too high. So it's like I want in my head I've already painted them, and they're the best looking miniatures I've ever painted because I really like the sculpts, and so there's this sort of pressure kind of a thing going on, and which means I haven't even started to paint them. And so that doesn't help either. What did happen the other day actually was my son found a miniature. It's going to be the next video up on Thursday. My son found a miniature. It was just lying in I had like a paper bag a box in a paper bag of just kind of a bit random things that weren't painted bits that didn't end up in the bit. But it's just this mix of hobby things, and he found a miniature in there that I didn't even know I had that miniature. I think it was given to me by mistake, which means I was given some other miniatures, and I think that must have sort of accidentally ended up among those. Anyway, I saw it, and I was just like, my first reaction was just like, I really like this miniature. I want to paint it, and so that's what I did. Instead of doing the other things that I should have been doing, instead of doing the video I should have done, instead of painting the miniatures for my army that I should have done, it was like I finally got that little urge, and I just went with it, and it needed to be sort of restored a little bit. I needed to fix things with it, and then I painted it, and I had tons of fun. And after that, I was sort of really stoked to start painting my chariot. I just sort of got the mojo back, as you would call it. And so that's very specific, but I think sometimes it just helps if you just get whatever little spur of the moment thing. If you just all of a sudden just walk past the game store and go like, wow, I've never painted an orc, but that orc is so cool. I want to paint it. Then, just if you can afford it, just go in and buy it and paint it, and don't think about all the other, getting started with that little spark of inspiration might be one thing. The other thing is just forcing yourself to it, I guess. If you say, I'm just going to sit down for 10 minutes and I'm going to paint this hat on this miniature. It's going to be red, and that's it. And then just do it, and then the next day you sit down again for 10 minutes and you paint the shirt or whatever. And eventually you might find yourself sitting there for 20 minutes instead, because it was actually kind of fun painting the shirt. Because I think a lot of hobby stuff can sometimes be also a bit of a habit. And when you get out of the habit, you forget how fun you have when you were in it, but it's difficult to get back in. It's like, it can be like exercise, which is, if you get in, if you do exercise regularly, it's usually a pretty nice thing. And, it doesn't feel like you're doing anything that you don't like, and you feel better. But then you get a cold or something like that, and you don't exercise for a month. And then the hardest thing in the world is like starting to try and exercise again. And all you want to do is just lie on the couch and eat candy, which is the opposite of exercising. But if you just force yourself to go out there and exercise like you used to, and you do that for 2 or 3 times, all of a sudden you realize that you're back into it. That's 2 ideas. Sad Panda says, we're all only human. Don't feel bad. Better to be too busy than too stagnant. Regarding my Mexican failure. Yeah. Sounds like a good book. My Mexican failure. Mark from Montana says, I missed the Discord chat on Friday, so it must have been my doppelganger that answered. Hope whoever he was gave a good answer. Yeah, no, it was actually on the. It was not on the live chat. It was in the, the regular text. It was about, I think, was about finding Badger. Who makes the primers, the paint, Badger, in Oregon, I think. But I believe someone wrote an answer. And I think it was a pretty good answer. So all is well. TFTF says, the funniest thing I saw at Spiel was a board game about miniature painting where you paint a chibi miniature by cards. That sounded funny. Yeah, is that the Scale Color thing? I think honestly, like, Scale Color is a company that makes Scale 75 and lots of different things. And so they make very nice paint, but sometimes I feel like they also have a very strange marketing team. No offense meant, but they sometimes have the worst Instagram, like tasteless, yeah. Anyway, and okay, enough. I'm not going to say anymore. But I think they made a board game that's about painting miniatures. TFTF says the watercolor dropper bottles are 17 mil and clear. I really like them. Yeah. And I didn't find any clear smaller ones. And I figured, well, I might as well get big ones. It doesn't really matter. Crazy Horse says, hobby hangouts on Discord are always nice to get in the hobby mood. And Adrian says they are. Yeah, we have as I said before, there's a Discord channel for patrons, and we every now and again have a live chat thingy over there, which is slightly more informal than this. And sometimes there's 10 of us, and sometimes there's 2, and usually only about every other week. At least that I join in on Fridays, sort of after work, just some casual painting. I mean, it's a thing sometimes with this hobby that we feel it's not always easy to find others to share the hobby with. And I've said it many times before that is sometimes something I appreciate, is the sort of alone time, the me time. You just sit down and paint and take your mind off of the other things that go on in the world and in life. But sometimes it's just nice to actually share what you're doing as well, feeling a sense of community, I guess. And we do that sometimes on the Discord, which is a very pleasant thing. Uncanny Jim Jam says, hello, I haven't been able to catch your streams in a while. I'm glad I could make it today. Well, I'm glad you could make it too. Honest Mini says Instar Paint has great small clear bottles. You're right about that. I forgot about them. They also have clear big bottles. Where's the small one? I bought some paints from them way back, like a couple of years back. I don't know. And I liked it because on their website as well, they had different sizes. So Instar is a paint brand that I eventually didn't end up liking, mainly because of the finish of the paint. Like it's sort of like most paints are a little sort of satin, and I as I've said in the past, I like matte paints, and so I didn't really agree with the Instar paints, mainly just because of that. I mean, there's different strokes for different folks. But what I liked about them is one could order sort of tester size, so like really tiny bottles. I can't remember how much was in them, like 10 mil or 5 mil, or yeah, they were really tiny, and then you could have larger bottles and that. But I liked that as a concept because then one could get more paints cheaper and like try them out. I thought that was a nice thing. And then I bought the varnish because they which was this one, which is called Varnish Plus. And I'm not saying this to be rude, but they kind of on the website said like this is the most matte varnish that has ever existed, almost. It's like a very matte varnish, and I thought, wow, I'll try it because I was after a very matte varnish, and it was not I think people's perception of what is matte is very different. Yes, this is more matte than a gloss varnish, but it's not like in my world, which is maybe because I come from photography and stuff like that. If you print an image on a matte paper, or if you work in a dark room and you're working with something that is matte, that means it doesn't shine, it doesn't reflect light, it is matte, it's like chalk. And so when I buy a matte varnish, that is what I expect. I expect it to be almost chalky. Well, that's what I want. But apparently then it's not just, then you can't just call it matte, then you need to call it ultra matte or something like that. And so I was a bit disappointed because of the explanation said it was very matte, and I would say it's it's just a semi satin matte varnish. Okay, Grumpy Alex is now going to take a break and return later. Here is Happy Alex. Talk Amadeus says best matte varnish is Tester's dull coat spray. Yeah, I think that's a bit tricky. With Tester's dull coat, because I don't, it's difficult to get a hold of. And from what I understood, they also like tried to, it used to be one formula that was very matte, and then they had to change that because otherwise they couldn't export it into Europe or whatever, and then it wasn't as matte. I'm not sure. I've heard a lot of people say that it used to be more matte, but at any rate, I cannot get a hold of it at all. It's not possible to get my hands on, whereas AK Interactive's Ultra Matte I can get my hands on. Apparently also MIG has one that is pretty similar, I think. People say that the Ultramat from Games Workshop doesn't do Ultramat. It's not their style. Green Stuff World has one that is also sort of Ultramat. Rumor has it that Pro Acryl is supposed to make a sort of super matte varnish, I think. Vallejo actually has come out with a super matte polyurethane varnish that I would like to try, because once again, their regular sort of matte varnishes, and the polyurethane matte varnish is not really matte. Fabian says, how do you paint Grey Knights of Warhammer 40k? They are cool. I don't know. Grey, I guess. I know very little about Space Marines, Fabian. But I'm sure there's about 63,000 tutorials on how to paint specific Space Marine chapters. But yeah, I don't know. Mark from Montana says, I liked Tamiya flat clear. Don't know if it's ultra, but it's matte enough for me. Yeah, I never tried much Tamiya. I mean, that sort of got lost a little bit in when entering a game store. That being said, Alpha Spel here in Stockholm, which is my local friendly game store, they've started stocking Tamiya paints, which is fun. It's great. It's like every time you go there, it's like, ooh, you have this now, which is it's quite impressive, because I thought they already had everything, and then they have chimera paints in store. They have, I mean, obviously all the regular Games Workshop, Vallejo, all the Vallejos, AK Interactive. They have Instar actually as well. Tons of paint. So it's all fun. Furat Art says, I miss working in the darkroom with the chemical photography papered, doing burning, etc. Yeah, I used to do that a lot. I used to do that a lot. So I used to work with that kind of stuff. Oops, I got overexcited here with the paint. So I had a few years of my life where I would spend every wake hour in a dark room, pretty much. Kind of like working in a bunker. I believe this shall be my last paint for this stream, because I'm sure it's been 2 hours by now. I'm just going to check my notes here and see that I haven't forgot anything important, like the Mexican Gaming Club. I'm still sorry. Hello, Smurf in USA. Okay, let's see. October competition, check. Single pigment color mixing video, check. Book, check. Raffle on Discord, check. That's about it. And I've managed to now get how many paints? Wait, did this one get a... Yeah. Okay, so I now have another 5 to complement these. See, isn't this pretty? That's good, isn't it? Okay. And with that, I believe I shall end today's stream. Now that the best adult dating site is back to take over, I'm just gonna report this one. Seriously, chat 69XYZ, just email me instead, and we can probably work something out. I'm just kidding. I'm going to remove these now so that no one will have to watch them in the future. And then I'm going to thank you all for joining in. It's been great. I had a lot of fun today for this stream. I kind of, yeah, thank you for the company, and we'll see in the coming weeks. I know my schedule is a bit all over the place, and I have my son a lot more than normal, so to speak. So hopefully in 2 weeks' time there will be another live stream, but also maybe prepare for disappointment. We'll see. I hope to be here because I enjoy it very much. And thank you for the kind donations. If you're watching this as a replay kind of thing, don't forget to press the like button so that things don't disappear forever. Bye, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.